A very good morning to all of you and a warm welcome to Niswas. We are all gathered here today because we have something in common. And that commonness is, first, a firm resolve that we are not going to sit back and watch inequality grow in our society. A belief that we can make things better for the small farmer and the rural poor. And a hope that in the near future, rural communities will be sustainable and independent of the welfare state. The objective of this training program is, first, to take stock of where we are in our activities and where we intend to go. Second, to find out the logical progression of the BNV movement from creating model villages to sustainable community enterprise systems. You may be wondering, what is this community enterprise system? In simple terms, it is a producer organization with a difference. Its mandate goes beyond economic activities and includes other development goals. It is a producer organization with a heart, a mind, and a soul. A sustainable community is one in which the weakest and the poorest and the excluded are allowed to live a dignified life and participate in the basic functions of society. An enterprise is a challenge, a difficult challenge, to go beyond creating pockets of prosperity and create a truly bottom-up alternate economy where wealth created remains at the bottom of the pyramid. Lastly, we call it a system, as it is a structural response where a number of producer organizations cooperate and coexist. The last objective of this training is to learn how to set up a CES, how to design it, begin it, nurture it, watch it take root, and ultimately leave it to its own genius and mechanism. Each one of you here are rich in experience, and we shall be relying entirely on this deep repository of knowledge to move boldly into the future. Welcome. Thank you.
Now, may I request our chief guest to speak a few words about the program? May I request? Thanks.
सबुठु प्रथमे मु धन्यवाद देवी निश्वास को जे आमको समस्त को से ऑर्गेनाइज करिकी गोटे कॉमन कम्युनिटी रे नहीं आछंती. The first achievement of the day that people from CMGI, people from Art of Living and from Niswas, they are all sitting together. Namaste. Ekasit Baschanti with a single objective in mind. Whenever we do something, before doing something, there is a thought. By coming here, we have done something. But before doing this, we had a thought. And I am sure all of us had the same thought. So this unity of thought, I think, is the most important strength of this group. Because physically we may not be together after one day, but this unity of thought will continue forever. And this is what will lead us for many days to come, many months to come. This unity of thought has to remain. We are together in our quest for improving ourselves, improving our environment, improving others, improving social relationships. This is our quest. And this is a very long journey, but it's a very enjoyable journey. It's a very pure journey. It's a journey which continues to give you strength. Apart from all the sources from where we derive strength, the greatest source of strength is the choice of what you are going to do which sustains you for a very long time. I think that is something, the choice, the common choice that we have made, that we will come together and we'll do something for ourselves and for others. Mu sabule kahe that life is a mixture of purity and impurity. This is the duality of life. Eta dvaitvad jaha ko kuha jaye, जीवन रो द्वैतवाद जे भल अच्छी खराब भी अच्छी सब बड़े रहिबो एटा को कहीं माने समाप्त करि पारिबे नाही. But it is this duality of life which makes life interesting. Suppose there was nothing bad in life, ताले कौन होता? Could there be goodness? जदि खराब न थांता ताले भलो ही थांता कि? It was not possible. आपण चिंता करंतु. काहे कि goodness is a relative term. जेमती on a blackboard you can't write with a black chalk. You have to use a white chalk to write on the blackboard to make your script visible. Same thing, goodness becomes visible only when there is bad in the environment. Otherwise, if सब good थांता, ताले good रो definition रहिबो नहीं. There will be nothing called good. It's a very interesting thought that you can reflect on. You can reflect on. And this gives a choice to everybody to choose between the good and the bad. The bad is very attractive. And therefore everybody, most of us or everybody choose bad. I'll give you a story, a very small story. This is a real incident which has happened, which led to a case in the National Human Rights Commission. Kendrapadara gute gaँ अछि, San Mirchapalli. But this is a real life story, real life drama which happened in San Mirchapalli. सरकारन को प्रोग्राम चली छी कि प्रत्येक स्कूल रे मिड डे मील हेबो. ताले सान मिर्चापल्ली स्कूल रे मध्य मिड डे मील आरंभ करा गला. मिड डे मील रे किए रांधिबो सेटा गोटे जिनस. ताले रांधिबा पाई किछि सेमती गवर्नमेंट इंस्ट्रक्शन नथिला तो लोक जेमती एडहॉक अरेंजमेंट किछि करथिले. किंतु परे सिस्टम को सुधारिबा पाई गवर्नमेंट इंस्ट्रक्शन देले कि सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप माध्यम रे सेटा कुकिंग टा चालू. ताले एई गाँ रो जो स्कूल थिला सेठी मध्य सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप गुटे हला और सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप माध्यम रे से कुकिंग टा आरंभ हला. दिस इज अ स्टोरी ऑफ 2007-8. से सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप जेहेतु गवर्नमेंट प्रोग्राम माध्यम रे तार ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कराई थिला से किछि मध्य सब्सिडी पैसा मध्य इत्यादि पाउथिले तांकर बिजनेस व्यवसाय इत्यादि करबा पई सेटा मध्य करूथिले. ए सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप रो जो प्रेसिडेंट थिले, ट्रेजरर थिले, मेंबर्स थिले आउ समस्ते ए जो सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप रो समस्ते शेड्यूल कास्ट्स. से गाँ रे जो सरकार को व्यवस्था अच्छी जे प्रत्येक स्कूल पाई गोटे विलेज एजुकेशन कमिटी हेबो जोटा कि अधिकांश पिला मानकर गार्जियन पेरेंट्स को नेकरी हुए. तो से माने विलेज एजुकेशन कमिटी मेंबर माने दे वर नॉट फ्रॉम एससीज. तांकर प्रेसिडेंट भी किए थिले, तांकर सेक्रेटरी भी जने थिले, दे वर नॉट फ्रॉम एससीज. सो से विरोध कले जे एई एससी कुक रो खाइबा तार रांधिबा आमे पिला माने हमर पिला माने ग्रहण करिवे नाही. बिकज से 60 जन अच्छा आम तांकर रंधा खाइबा ना आउ कंप्लेंट करागला डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को कलेक्टर को जे क्वालिटी भलो नहीं खाइबार क्वालिटी भलो होनी एटा चेंज करा जाओ थरे कलेक्टर तांकर टूर रे से गाँ को विजिट कले आउ लोक माने से ग्रीवांस मध्य रखिले जो कुक थिले से भी तांको सहित कथा हेले द कलेक्टर डिसाइडेड एटा तो स्कूल रे पूरा एमडीएम बंद हो जाइए कहीं खाऊ ना ताले से गोटे डिसीजन नेले जे स्कूल रे कुकिंग तार हेडमास्टर बुझीबो स्कूल रो हेडमास्टर बुझीबो आओ ये सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप को जो इंगेज कराई थिला कुकिंग रे तार कुकिंग तार इंगेजमेंट को कैंसिल कर दिया बंद कर दिया कलेक्टर को इंटेंशन जे कुकिंग टा जमती चलो पिला माने खाइबे रंधारंधी हेबो सो कुकिंग एमडीएम आरंभ हो गला बट दिस डिसीजन had very serious repercussions किछि दिन परे दिस लेडी ये जो एससी कुक थिले शी कमिटेड सुइसाइड शी वाज सबू वीएससी मेंबर मानकर सामने रे से ह्यूमिलिएटेड फील कले निजको पूरा गाँव रे से बहुत ह्यूमिलिएटेड फील कले एंड शी कमिटेड सुइसाइड आउ सुइसाइड हला परे किछि एनजीओ माने थिले से माने एई केसटा को रेज कले एटा कंप्लेंट हला ह्यूमन राइट्स कमिशन रे सबू इंक्वायरी मध्य आरंभ हो गला एससी एसटी एट्रॉसिटी एक्ट अच्छी ताले दुईटा एफआईआर भी हो गला एफआईआर रे इन्वेस्टिगेशन है करी कहगला यहाँ सत्य पाए से माने सत्य पाइले जे एमती है घटना है आउ तापरे किछि कॉम्पनसेशन मध्य रिपोर्ट गोटे जॉइंट इंक्वायरी हुए तहसीलदार और एसडीपीओ मिसिकरी गोटे जॉइंट इंक्वायरी करती जॉइंट इंक्वायरी है आउ तापरे से माने किछि कॉम्पनसेशन मध्य अवार्ड कले एबे एनएचआरसी नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट्स कमिशन जो आसतिले से माने एई केसटा को रिव्यू करथिले ए केस रे कोन हेछ हमर जो ह्यूमन राइट्स पाई जड़े एडिशनल डीजी थांती एडीजी तांकू कहगला जे आपण इंक्वायरी करंतु ए कोन हेछि घटनाटा कोन से गोटे इंक्वायरी कले बहुत विस्तृत तांकर डिटेल सबू कथा बाहरला आउ से यह कहले जे इट इज दिस प्रॉब्लम ऑफ अनटचेबिलिटी जो रहउछि इट्स अ रियल प्रॉब्लम इन दिस विलेज एंड इटा को आमको जमती एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हैज टू हैंडल दिस अवेयरनेस जनरेशन करवा कथा लोक मान भितर एंड दे हैव टू रिजॉल्व दिस इश्यू समथिंग हैज टू बी डन आउ तापरे कहले जे जो सुसाइड करछि तार गोटे झियो छोट झियो स्कूल जाउछि तापाई ही सजेस्टेड सम कॉम्पनसेशन तो गवर्नमेंट से कॉम्पनसेशन मध्य दे देला सो दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ story that we are getting, real life stories which we are getting from the villages. माने आमे जो कथा होथलु the concept of good and bad इतरे गुडनेस कोठी अच्छी जना पड़ू Where is the goodness? The dominance of what is wrong in our system has become so strong and so severe that it is very important. It is very important that people come together with a mission to do something about it. And it is very much doable. It is also not very tough. It is very easy. All these things which happen is essentially a reflection of what is going on inside the person himself. As I said, the bad is very attractive and it is easy to choose. And the individuals often have, in their thoughts, things which are wrong, things which are right, but the path of righteousness is so difficult and the path of the evil is so easy that you are tempted to take that path. And that is what you are seeing in our villages, in organizations, whether it is in the private sector or it is in government sector. You are seeing this all over. This is the blackboard that you have, I would say. This should not make us cynical. ବୁଝୁଛନ୍ତି ଏଥିରେ ଖରାପ ଭାବିବା କଥା ନୁହଁ ସବୁଠୁ ପ୍ରଥମ this should not make us sad, this should not make us cynical, this should not make us negative. This is the blackboard. It's all black. The situation before us is all black. And therefore, with your good thoughts and good deeds, you will start writing a new script which will be visible to everybody. This is what our mission is. And it's a long, lifelong mission. That we continue to, with our thoughts and with our deeds, we continue to write a script which everybody will read, appreciate, and try to understand. And then get the inspiration to choose what is right and avoid what is evil. This is what we are trying to achieve. This is the larger goal that we are trying to achieve. The reforms of minds of everybody. As I said, we always have a mixture of purity and impurity. The purity and impurity is manifested by the deeds of individuals. It is not manifested by itself. It is manifested by the deeds of individuals. So with our deeds, with our good deeds, with our deeds of correction, of reform, of improvement, we try to enhance the purity in the system. And that very act of purifying the system also purifies us. Please remember this. This is something which is very, very sensitive, critical, significant. Because we are also not pure. No human being is pure. The definition of human being implies purity and impurity both. If he is pure, he is God. If he is a human being, he is a mixture of purity and impurity. And his life is a journey towards something. And that something has to be chosen by this individual. Purity or impurity. He has been given a choice. What do you choose in your journey of life? What is your destination? Purity or impurity? Freedom to choose. So, if we choose impurity as the destination, as our goal, we remain continuously embroiled and engaged in that, and that burden of impurity goes on increasing day by day until such time that it destroys us. Till such time that it destroys us. Because impurity is very attractive, but it is very destructive. Destructive to the individual personally, himself. It's not just injurious to others, it is injurious to him. You are hearing of so many scams happening, and 2 days back there was a story of attempt to suicide of one of the scamsters. Is it not? So the destruction is not only of the system, but also to the person who is impure. This you have to remember. This is enlightened rationality. That you have to come to this understanding that this path of impurity, though looks attractive, is going to be injurious to me. Mate khyati karibo. Sethipai mu eta choose karibi nahi. This is in enlightened rationality. So if I make a conscious choice of choosing the path of purity, what happens? The consequence is that my level of purity, I am a mixture of purity and impurity, but my level of proportion of purity goes on increasing day by day. Day by day. It goes on increasing. With every thought and deed of pure action, the purity in me, the proportion of purity in me goes on increasing. Till you have the maximum purity in you, which takes you to the level of Mahan Atma. You are called Mahatma. So from Sadharan Atma to Mahan Atma. This is the journey that everybody has to choose. Now this is the mission that we choose for ourselves, and we should thank the blackness in the environment that will help us purify ourselves. You get the point? In every sports, be it, you take a small sport like playing cards, or you take badminton, or you take tennis, or you take football, or you take whatever, cricket, or whichever sports you take. No sport can be played by one side. There has to be two sides. There has to be an opponent. That is what makes sports interesting. Otherwise, sports will not be interesting. Sports cannot be enjoyable. So the duality in our existence, this is what is the source of enjoyment. The existence of the good and the evil both is actually the source of enjoyment. This is what makes life worth living. So we have to continuously strive to use the impurity to purify ourselves. The teacher, when he teaches the students, it is said that no teacher can teach anybody. This is one of the famous line of Shri Aurobindo. No teacher can teach anybody. No human being can be taught. Because for the teacher to teach, he has to be perfect. Nobody is perfect. And the person who is to be taught, he cannot be taught because he has to experience it himself. So by teaching, nothing can be taught, but by living properly, the other person will watch and see and observe, and he understands and he experiences. So it's a matter of your own personal experience, how you experience it. And this cannot be taught. When we are talking of community enterprise system, CES, there are three important words: community, enterprise, and a system. What is a community? What is an enterprise? And what is system? What makes a community? A group of individuals? Does that make it a community? No, it doesn't. It is a necessary thing. A community must have a group of individuals, but it doesn't make it a community. Right? So what makes a community? A community is made by the sharing of thoughts, which gets reflected in relationships between the members of the community. Sharing of thoughts, sharing of ideas, sharing of vision, a common purpose, a common goal, being together. The goal could be cultural. It need not be economic. So community is made by relationships. So when we are trying to talk about community enterprise system, we have to think of bringing together individuals and looking at their relationships, diagnosing their relationships and improving their relationships. Enterprise is the second word. What is the meaning of enterprise? The meaning of enterprise is related to risks, that you take a risk. You are doing something about which there is some uncertainty. You do not know exactly what is the result. So, there is a risk. People may come together. They have good bonds, good ties, and they come together to do something with the hope that they will achieve some result. They may achieve, they may not achieve, they may partially achieve. So when they come together to do something, to achieve a result which is uncertain, that constitutes an enterprise. So when we are talking of community enterprise, particularly in villages, in rural areas, there we are talking how their production systems relating to land, it may be relating to water, it may be relating to forests, how people coming together, working with land, water and forests, how they can improve their production and productivity, how they will be ready to take risks, and how they can manage the risks, how can reduce the chance of losses. And how they can fix their goals and how they can work together, mobilize resources, use the latest technology, acquire appropriate knowledge and skills to achieve their goals. So that makes them into an enterprise. So community is about good relationships, about trust, reciprocity. An enterprise is about using this community power to achieve some result which is not very certain, but achieving that result in a manner so that the uncertainty is minimized. And a system. A third expression is system. What does system mean? System implies a combination of variety of parts which are interdependent, which work together. Like you have a cycle, for example, or a motor car, or whatever. You can talk of a society as a system also, where the item has variety of parts, but they are connected together, they work together, and they symbolize, their working together symbolizes harmony. It is that harmonious functioning which is achieved by a system. So when we talk of community enterprise system, we are talking of bringing together people, forging relationships amongst them, giving them the right goals, building their capacity to achieve those goals to the maximum extent possible. And by achievement of those goals, remain in a state of harmony so that this cycle of building of relationships, achievement of goals, acquisition of competencies continue in a harmonious manner. This is what we are trying to do. Now I'll share with you some of the interesting outcomes that we had. This is directly the result of your efforts, the efforts of Art of Living and the officers of CMGI. In one of the villages in Sulyapada block in Mayurbhanj district, people who were trained, जहाँ को आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग लोक ट्रेन करथिले, से माने तांकर संख्या पाखी 100 थिबो. In one village we trained around 100 people. And these 100 people, when they were trained in Bhubaneswar for 8 days by Art of Living, they had the relationship build ହେଇଗଲା, गोटे कम्युनिटी फीलिंग आसीगला, एलिमेंट आसीगला, तांको गोटे कॉमन गोल मध्य दियागला जे तमे यहाँ करिवो. And when they went back to their village, they created Sadbhavna gardens. से माने निजे गोटे जमी आइडेंटिफाई करिकी से माने सेठी फल गछ लगैकरी गोटे सद्भावना उद्यान से माने गोटे सृष्टि कले. दिस इज द मैनिफेस्टेशन ऑफ देयर कम्युनिटी enterprise system spirit, the spirit of community enterprise system. It starts reflecting in things done. Then what did they do? They felt that the biggest problem they have is drinking water. In the village रे पीवा पानी रो व्यवस्था ठीक नहीं. से माने निजे तांकर resources without depending on government, निज हाथरू से माने पैसा कलेक्शन करी पाइप्ड वाटर सप्लाई सिस्टम रो व्यवस्था कले. मैडम बहुत सुंदर कथा कहले, हाउ वी कैन हैव सस्टेनेबल कम्युनिटीज इंडिपेंडेंट ऑफ द वेलफेयर स्टेट. पावरफुल स्टेटमेंट थिला. तो यू कैन सी सम एलिमेंट ऑफ that thing happening. A community which has been trained by Art of Living goes back to the village and they set up this water supply system on their own, entirely on their own, without depending on the government. They had problems of teachers in their school. So instead of raising grievance ki teacher nahanti, they started giving time in the school, started teaching. ସେମାନଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ जो ଭଲ ପିଲାମାନେ ଥିଲେ ଝିଅମାନେ ଥିଲେ they started giving time in the school. ଯାହା ମୁଁ କହୁଛି ଯେ ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ବୋର୍ଡ଼ରେ ଧଳା ସ୍କ୍ରିପ୍ଟ ଲେଖିବା ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଇଗଲାଣି. This is exactly what starts happening, which also enriches these individuals who have agreed to come together, work together and improve everybody in the whole community. This is not only one example. I'll give you example of another district, Angul. Angul district re Kumur Singha Panchayat re Art of Living trained 120 people. अच्छा सेटा भी मु गोटे कहवा चाहे जे when we had designed training programs, I कहूँ that we have to train large number of people because we have to create maximum impact. But then we are constrained by our budget. So we reduce our numbers. So we can't train everybody. So when we have to design training programs for the state, we feel that we must let us train, 1,000 or 10,000 people in the state. गोटे स्टेट रे एते लोक को ट्रेन करवा तो प्रत्येक जिला रे एते हेबे, प्रत्येक ब्लॉक रे एते हेबे, प्रत्येक विलेज रे एते हेबे. So normally what we say is let us have 1 or 2 persons in the block who is trained. He will then do our work. Or we say somebody is more enterprising, he says नहीं आमे गोटे गोटे पंचायत रे गोटे दुटा पिला को रखिबा ट्रेंड जो कि आमर कामटा करि परिबे. See this approach we completely abandoned. We said nahi, our budget is limited. It is true, our budget is limited, we can only train a very few people. But these few people will be only in one village. They will not be spread all across the state. See the importance of this decision. We decided consciously to pick up one village and train 100 people in a village. We could have trained in at least in 30 districts 3 people. Naiki 100 jan hi jaithante amar. But we said no, one village we take up and 100 people we train. What was the reason? The idea of community. The idea of community. One person in a district or 2 person in a district or a block or a panchayat cannot make a community. Can never make a community. And when we are talking of community development, we must create the community first. Because the community at present that it exists is very different from the community that we are going to create. What is the difference? The difference is reflected in terms of relationship. What is the present quality of relationship in the community? What is the present quality of sense of belongingness, sense of responsibility, sense of reciprocity, the idea of morality, trust? What are the quality of these things in the present state of the community? Very poor, they don't understand, they don't have it. And in fact, because of what I said, everybody has ingrained impurity, the relationship is continuously becoming impure. ये सब आओ बहुत वीकेंड है गला. ताकू जिते बड़े आप में rectify करिबा, we'll have to pick up a community. We have to train a community, a village, not 100 people across the state. We cannot do it. This one man whom we train in a block or a panchayat, he cannot go into a community and start changing them. He cannot. One man's idea, great ideas, can never be adopted by the rest of the community, which has a very different wavelength. So when you bring 100 people in an art of living environment, you change their entire way of thinking, the entire community's way of thinking, and a new ideology, a new way of thinking is implanted in their minds. Now, this is the approach that we adopted. And in Kumar Singha, we trained 120 people, the Art of Living people trained 120 people. And then the government decided to have this campaign for having village which is open defecation free. Right? So the district collector decided that I will take only Angul block to combine all the resources, to bring together all resources of the whole district in one block and try to make it open defecation free. So engineers, NGOs, etc., all were brought to bring this change in this whole block. But see the effect, what happened. He held a meeting of the sarpanches first. There are 30 sarpanches in that block. 40 sarpanches in that block. He held a meeting of those sarpanches. He asked them, are you interested in the idea of open defecation free village? Can you do it? Who will volunteer? So only the sarpanch of that Art of Living village, Panchayat, he raised his hand. Only he raised his hand. This is so important. Others did not raise their hand. Why? What was the reason? This sarpanch not only had an enhanced sense of his responsibility, purity, etc., but he also had a team of 100 fellows. He was confident that he can do it. He is not alone. When you have 100 people with you, you become confident. Other sarpanches, they are themselves, not confident and not also having the conviction to do something right. So, other sarpanches did not raise their hands. This sarpanch raised his hand. He stood up, he said, we'll do it and we can do it, no problem. So, the entire resource of the district administration which was lent to that block was utilized to the maximum capacity by this group of 100 people of Art of Living, and they have within a few days constructed large number of individual household toilets. Now, it is not true that good people don't live outside the scope of, where we have chosen. There was one more good sarpanch, a lady sarpanch, who was a college teacher, very committed, very, very good, a person with right values, and she wanted to also have her village as open defecation free. But she did not have the team, but still she said, see, her commitment was so high. She said, I would also like to follow this panchayat. And she tried. She also tried. But because there was no community, her initiative produced very limited impact. Very limited impact. You understand? I am myself stunned by these outcomes which are coming from the field. There is a clear substantiation of the idea that only through training you can purify the minds of people, bring up the conviction in them to do good things. And when you train large number of people in a small area, you create a powerful community for bringing change. Because individuals then support each other, they reinforce each other. This reinforcement is very important. Now, with these small experiments that have happened and the results which have come, convince all of us that this is the right approach. This is how we should go ahead. And now the scale of work that you have before you is more than 30,000 volunteers in more than 700 gram panchayats are now in position, already registered, enrolled, and they are in all the districts, all 30 districts. So we have to, therefore, start in a big way and sustain ourselves for a long time as a mission of our life. Because by doing this, what is the greatest achievement that we can have? I think the greatest achievement that we can have by doing this is purifying our own selves, maximizing the purity within ourselves. This is the objective I would request, I would urge that you also should have in mind. See, it is quite strange when I say this, no? We are talking of community, enterprise, development, and so on and so forth, untouchability, and so on and so forth. We are talking of all these things. But then I end up saying that the final result is purity enhanced in one's own self, not what happens in others. This is not the objective. Now ask me the logic of this. Why it should be so? Why it should be so? It has a very powerful logic. The logic is that while you are attempting to take this adventurous campaign, as I said, it is itself an enterprise, fraught with risks and uncertainty. The plans that you will draw up and the results that will happen will seldom match. So if your focus is on the plans and you keep comparing your plans with the results, you will keep having perturbation inside you, disturbance inside you. Nija bhitre vyakulta asibo. That is the sign of impurity. That is not the sign of purity. Anxiety asibo, irritability asibo. Se yaha kola nahi, se yaha kola nahi. You start thinking negatively. The output is dependent on not how much of comparison you do, keep doing, and how much perturbed you remain. Output is entirely dependent on how calm and cool and confident you are. All this comes from purity within you. So when you enhance your purity, when you focus on your own self, your own purity, you are focusing on your own confidence, your own strength, and uncertain, undesirable events which keep on happening in this whole journey do not disturb you, do not bother you. So we have to move along this path in an undisturbed, calm, and dispassionate manner. not getting perturbed by anything. Lot of obstacles will come. Lot of difficulties will come. People whom you expected that they would cooperate might just go away. And make you hurt, make you feel down. So all kinds of undesirable things will happen. Promises made will not be kept, but you have to sustain. So, sir, as long as you keep focusing on yourself, you will continuously go with the drive. You will not abandon the drive. And as long as you continuously go on the drive, the goal will continue to become closer and closer. The anxiety in you, the level of anxiety in you with which you watch the goal is not important. In fact, that is very harmful. How close am I to the goal? If you keep saying this, it is very harmful. So in fact, it is so strange that the focus is on your self-purity. And as long as you continue to have self-purity, for a long time to come, you achieve the goal. So what is the meaning of achievement of goal? And how does it come about? The achievement of goal is simply dependent on two things and nothing else. The amount of purity you have within you and the amount of time that you continue with this purity. The quantum of purity and the amount of time, these two together will determine the achievement of the goal, nothing else. And what is life? It is only passage of time. And what is purity? That is the quality of life. So if you pass the time of your life in a pure manner, you achieve the goal. You achieve the end of your life. Right? So with this thought and with this vision, with this idea, we have to continue to work together. If you work like this, you will never be frustrated. You will never have anybody disappointing you. You will never have anybody injuring you. And therefore, you will never have any enemy, because you cannot be injured by anybody. So you will never have any enemy. So you will never think of harming others, because you think of harming only your enemy. So you never think of harming others. These are all interconnected ways of thinking which only talk about, lead to enhancement of our own self-purity. So the idea of community enterprise system that we are going to do is, to my mind, is a powerful game, that we are going to enjoy playing. And we have to become the skillful players. We have to become the skillful players with a very clear idea as to what skills are required to play this game. I am very convinced that there is no other way, there is precisely no other way of improving things other than this. Because I have seen only systems collapsing, systems failing, people becoming enemies, quarreling with each other, conflict becoming more intensified, which hastens the collapse of organizations and systems. This is what is happening within organizations, within human minds, and within societies and communities. And therefore, this is the only way, because this is conducive to building your own inner purity, building harmony outside, and this leads to sustainable growth, sustainable development. So I am very happy that we have come together like this, and we will get a lot of good ideas on the community enterprise management system. And yes, the communities should be so well trained, they should be so well enabled that they do not have the need of the welfare state. I totally agree with this statement, and I am sure the results that will come in the different villages will establish this very fact. We have, as I said, more than 700 villages where this thing is going on, where the Bharat Nirman volunteers are there, but they do not have training. So it is very important that we develop a plan for training them. Art of Living has already come with us. Now I am very happy that Niswas, Art of Living and the state government together, the CMGI together, it's a very powerful combination that has come up. Niswas has very good innovative ideas, very powerful ideas on actually executing development work, designing enterprise systems. So all these itself, is enabling the development of new community, of organizations. This is what in the literature on social capital, they talk of three things: bonds, then they talk of bridges, links. So people who are at the same level, like people in the same village, they get bonded. So our job has to be improve the quality of that bond. What is bridge? Bridge is the relationship between two dissimilar things. So for example, we have the villager and let's say the line department. The relationship between the line department and the community will be a bridge. Two dissimilar things. The relationship between village individual and another individual in the village, it's a bond. Bridge is the relationship between the village and the line department, a different organization. And then there is a question of link. Link is when different organizations come together. That is the relationship between different organizations. So social capital is an aggregation of these three things: the quality of bonds, the quality of bridges, and the quality of links. What we see here is the link between Art of Living, CMGI and Niswas. This is the social capital which has already got constituted. It is very closely connected with formation of human capital. The last slide is about three types of capital. which change things. One is the social capital, which I talked about. Long-term relationships, cooperation, networks, reciprocity, open platforms. This is social capital. Then the human capital is, this training actually will build our, knowledge, is giving more knowledge to people, making them more skillful. That is, individually, the person becomes better, more capable. So that is the human capital. So a very good doctor, if we have, then it's a good human capital. But what relationships he has with the patient is social capital. If that is not good, then in Bhubaneswar, what happened a few days back? Some patient came inside the house of the doctor and killed him. No? You've heard of this? No social capital. Good human capital. Then you have financial capital. We are talking of, budget, government grants, private corporate social responsibility funds, etc., etc. So when those funds come together, like Art of Living is trying to mobilize, funds from corporate sector through CSR, but the funds alone cannot do anything. When I talked of that, in my long years of experience, what I saw was the misuse of this all over, the wastage. Why? I did not see social capital anywhere. Social capital even within organization did not exist, because human beings are not enlightened. As a result of which, you cannot make progress. It is impossible. Why do you think, in Africa, so many countries are there, they are poor. There are a lot of donor countries, very rich countries, they can give money. If it was so easy that development could come through money, there are donor countries, they could give money to the African poor countries and the countries could become rich. But no, it cannot, because they require human capital and social capital also. Without that, it will not happen. So it's a combination of these three things: the financial capital, the human capital and social capital. Three things together which will bring change. Individually they cannot. Just social capital will not. Just human capital will not. And just financial capital will not. So we have to try to, whenever we are doing things, whenever we are talking of community enterprise system, whenever we are talking of working in the villages, we have to keep this thing in mind, all these three things in mind. It's a very powerful slide I saw and thought I would share with you, that when we are doing community enterprise system planning, you will first start with your budget. What is your budget? The budget will limit the kind of activities that you will have. The plan of activities will come from the quality of social capital that you have. And the execution of those activities will depend on both the human capital and the social capital. It will not depend on financial capital. I can, for example, under IRDP and SGSY, so many cows were given to the poor, but they did not make the poor rich. They sold the cows. So financial capital doesn't do anything by itself. So it has to be combined with social capital and human capital. So in our thought of changing things through community enterprise system, when we are talking, it is actually trying to bring these three elements together. How we can train the individuals to become better farmers, better fishermen, better, let's say dairy farmers or a poultry farmer. So how can we build human capital? Then how we can network them with markets? right? How we can mobilize funds to support them, and how we can have the spirit of cooperation, which is the essential element of social capital, so that they share the resources, they work together. All these three things are so important.